now listening to the IndieEye Film Awards podcast.
Welcome to IndieEye Film Awards podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm Dre.
And we're here to talk about the June 2021 winners and some submissions of the IndieEye Film Awards that you could find at filmfreeway.com. We are a monthly online Indie Film Awards festival. I would love to do one of these in person and have an event.
Events are cool.
Yeah, but we started this because of how COVID just kind of shut everything down, and indie film productions, it was hard to happen, and festivals got closed off. So I think a lot of these online film awards things have opened up, and it gives people an opportunity to snag some laurels from somewhere, get a little recognition. And if you're new to us, the reason why we're doing the podcast is because we're trying to give something back more than just, hey, you won.
Here's a graphic you can stick on your poster.
Right, which is essentially what you get from us. But we take the time at the end of the month to do a podcast to talk about the winners and let you know that we are real people who are watching your films, and we have
things to say about them.
Yeah, we do. And our opinions are not the end all be all. And our opinions shouldn't matter to you going forward as a creative person. But we are unbiased insight that, you can't get from your friends or your mom or anyone else you get to watch. Everyone involved in a film project is biased towards it. No one wants to say anything bad. And we don't want to say anything bad either, and we really try not to, but we're just trying to give some constructive criticism as far as our opinion goes, but really we want to talk about things that we really enjoyed in the month of June. And speaking of not being able to do events, we recently went to the movies. That's go out to a place, go inside where there are people, and watch a movie.
Oh, it was spectacular.
Fantastic. I've never gone, it's been, the last movie I saw before COVID was Sonic with our youngest son, which was pretty fun. And then it was not, at that point I was looking forward to Black Widow coming out last May. So stoked for it. And then everything got shut down and pushed back. But we got to go see A Quiet Place 2. Which was so much fun to watch.
Yeah, the first one was amazing. Such a cool concept. Great story. Amazing characters. Loved it. So suspenseful, but not too bad.
And I don't care if we went and saw a terrible movie. I got to sit there with popcorn and feel that movie theater experience, which is really important to me. It was my favorite thing to do when I was younger was go to the movies. My dad, who would only see every other weekend, would take me to the movies usually as part of our, being
weekend
together. And I saw, most of my favorite movies were introduced to me by my father. Mm-hmm. And it's a blast for me to go to the theater, and my kids could care less. So really,
I could care less.
I have to drag you along or go by myself. But it was great to be back in movie theaters. And
he was the popcorn for me all the way.
Yes. Let's do it again sometime. And before we go into the actual reviews of everything, I want to plug a podcast that I found months and months ago called the Indie Film Review Podcast. And this is co-hosted by Jared and Dan. And they take submissions from people, not paid submissions. People will email them, hey, check out my indie film or check out this film, do a review on this film. And they do a podcast once a week to talk about at least one film. Sometimes they try to get a couple in if they're shorts or something, but they generally do a decent dive into whatever they watch. And they can be really funny. They are not always family friendly. But what I find super great about Jared and Dan is that even if you kind of know the movie they watched was probably bad, they find the best things about it to talk about with great tact. But they're having fun while they're doing it.
Yeah.
And look, if something's really, really bad, they're going to say, this is bad about this, I didn't get this, whatever. They're very genuine. But they really do have a sunshine approach to, I watched this indie film, here's what I loved about it.
Yeah,
and,
that's cool.
they really enjoy watching these indie films. Now, they've become pretty popular and inundated with people asking for their films to be reviewed. So they've started a Patreon, and now you can donate to their Patreon for like $1 as a supporter, but you can also do a $5 Patreon to them to have your film that you would like them to review moved up the queue.
That's smart.
So it's a $5 priority Patreon, boost for them, and you won't have to wait months, because I think the waiting list is months right now. So these are busy guys.
Well, yeah, and they have to watch the movie. They probably have to make notes about it. Sometimes they might even watch it twice,
right,
to make sure that they kind of catch the details so that they know what they're talking about.
Yeah, and they're very thorough.
Yeah.
They don't skim through. They get into details. They will talk about spoilers, but they warn the audience. If they do, they'll go through an initial review, and then if they want to dive into spoilers, they say, okay, listen, spoilers ahead. So they will do that. But just great guys, and I wanted to give them a shout out here and maybe send a listener of ours their way if you're looking to have your movie reviewed, or you want to hear, a deeper dive on your project. Check out Indie Film Review, and you can find them on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Indie Film Review, or we'll put the Patreon link in the description box. And I hope that folks go give them a listen and enjoy Jared and Dan's Indie Film Review podcast. So I guess we got to do our housekeeping now.
Yeah, just one little note to just remind everybody that when you become a winner or even
an official
selection, you will get an email notification from us through Film Freeway. And in that email is a link to the laurels that we have created for your categories. You don't have to go into Film Freeway and create your own. We would prefer you didn't do that. We would prefer that you use ours with our branding, so that stays consistent. So just be on the lookout for a link in your notification email. It'll take you right to the laurels that we've created for you.
Yeah, when this has happened, people are just, they saw the official selection or the win, and
yeah, they get real excited.
They go to the Film Freeway Laurel generator, do their own, and post, which is awesome. And we've tried to make the link more present within the email. Yeah. So hopefully that's seen. And of course, we're on Instagram, and our podcast is everywhere podcasts can be, I guess.
And YouTube.
And YouTube, which is the hardest part of my job, editing and throwing it up there on YouTube. So, hey, what was your impression of what we got in June?
June was a lot of shorts.
Yeah.
And a lot of really good, high quality shorts.
It was the battle of the shorts.
Yeah.
We received a lot of high quality shorts. But I want to pull the curtain back a little bit so everyone understands. June for us was probably the least submissions we've received since we started in February.
Yeah.
So that was interesting to me because it ebbs and flows a little bit. There's a little bit of fluctuation. But this time it was like half of what we received months prior. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was interesting as a metric of, does it slow down in June for festivals?
Right. Or just did people not make movies in the last 6 months that they're ready to submit anything? What does it look like on the back end for people who are the ones submitting? What does it look like out in the market?
Well, certainly we've seen people, hey, if you're a creator and there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
You're going to make stuff. And we've seen some really creative results from people just dealing with the limitations of the world over the last 18 months. I was kind of happy.
We had less to watch.
Yeah, and we got to put more time into the things we did watch and the notes. But June was a really busy month for us, so that was kind
We've
of...
said that every month since April.
I
Things keep happening.
we may have to look in the mirror and realize we're busier than we think.
Or busier than we want to be.
Yeah, and why are we doing this as we sit here volunteering to do a
Yeah.
podcast? But but at least it's fun.
Listen, I think we're not that busy. We're just used to
We're soft.
a lazier lifestyle.
We're not.
And
We run multiple entities.
yes, we do.
and
We're
it takes
always
a lot of
doing
time.
stuff. Yes.
Okay, let's actually talk about some films.
Jeez, finally.
Sorry. I'll just start with the biggest category, and that was doc shorts this month. There were so many, and so many good quality doc shorts.
Yeah.
And hey, I've seen shorter docs. These were like 30 minutes long a piece.
But we get it. With
but yeah,
documentaries,
yeah.
it's like there's so much information to pack in.
Yeah, it's
Get
more of a mid-length doc.
I said we need to add a medium-sized category.
I hate seeing these festivals with like 1,000 categories.
I
It's just,
know.
it doesn't feel authentic. But yeah, these were doc shorts. We'd watch one and be like, well, that's going to be a winner. And then watch the next one. Oh, well, that one is a contender also. And it was pretty much a battle of doc shorts this month. And I will say, I'm going to talk about one in particular that will be an honorable mention, submitted by Jarrell Hilton, called The Last Vance. And Jarrell was really appealing to the bias in me, because this is a doc about a high school football team. Well, it's more than that, but it's essentially a high school football team doc, shot really well, done so thoughtfully. And this is about Vance High School in North Carolina and dealing with their last season as being named Vance High School. And they're changing the name because Robert B. Vance was a Confederate soldier, Confederate general during the Civil War. So at some point in 2020, a board of people have decided that this name must be changed. They want to change it away from the Democrat Confederate general that has monuments and multiple things named after him in North Carolina. This general did amazing things for North Carolina. He was a politician following the war. But in the atmosphere of the last 18 months, they felt it important to change the name. So they're changing the name, and this is their last season under that name. And I will tell you, this was so wonderfully done. And I don't know if this is Jarrell's intent, but I thought the delivery was brilliant with the interviews, because if you watch this, and my takeaway was you see the impact of wokeness on this community that supports this school.
Yeah.
This school has been known as Vance High School. Mm-hmm. They have a tradition.
They have a hashtag.
They're proud to be there. They don't care
Yeah.
who was named after, whatever. It doesn't matter. And in my opinion, it shouldn't matter anymore. Did they name it Vance High School because he fought for the South and his family owned slaves? Probably not. It was probably more of the fact that he was a politician who did a lot for North Carolina. Yes, the South, had a high opinion of their generals, but the Civil War has a lot more context to it than just the South wanting to maintain slaves and the North not. Mm-hmm. There's more story to that. So it's not, you can't just throw everything out and say it's bad, in my opinion. But the point is, from the interviews, these coaches, these players, faculty, the principal, they're proud of this. It's emotional for them. They
didn't seem like they wanted this change to happen.
And I just see I see a school board with too much time. I'm sure there's other things to worry about in their district, things to address than changing the name of a school. Now, you want to change the name of a school? I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. But did anybody ask any of these people?
Yeah.
Because they look like it really means something to them. And I felt that. And I thought Jarrell Hilton did an amazing job having that in the subtext of his interviews. Because the people he's interviewing, no one is saying, this is a stupid idea. They're on board. They understand the name change. They're embracing the new name. I think they're making the best of it and trying to look forward to a new legacy under a new name.
Sure.
But I just think it just sucks that, something these guys have such admiration and passion for gets ripped out from under them because somebody decides, well, that's offensive.
Yeah.
And I'm just so sick of that.
I'm so sick of it too.
I just feel like maybe they should have all had a vote in it. That bummed me out. But I thought Jarrell Hilton gave us a wonderful documentary to watch. And it was really hard to not make this our winner. But I felt if I did that, it would have been a personal bias. Whoops, I touched my mic. If I did that, it would have been a personal bias of mine to say it's the winner when we had another strong contender. But Jarrell is getting an honorable mention for The Last Vance. And I think in any other month prior to now, he would have won Best Doc Short.
Yeah, because it was beautifully shot. The interviews were clean. There were no audio problems. You could tell that people were being interviewed in different spots, different offices.
Thoughtful location.
It was, everything looked beautiful. It sounded beautiful. There was, football footage mixed in, and it just made you feel like that's what you were watching. And they're a great team who has done a lot of great things, and you felt the passion from the coaches and the players.
Right, and I think the real headline of the story in this doc is not necessarily about the name change, although the title of the film is perfect. I thought this is so well titled. I love it. But the shine goes to these football players who were North Carolina's 4 AA state champions for the second year in a row. And I know what that takes. I've covered state championship football teams, and that's a tough road. And so that just is so much more impactful when you realize here's a team that's known, a program that is respected, and now you're taking the name away.
Mm-hmm. It's like completely changing somebody's branding.
Yeah.
And
when you're already
when you're already popular and known. Yeah.
Plus, Vance sounds cooler. So I go to Vance. Right. I would want to say that.
Yeah.
I don't care about a Confederate general. It's 2021 and I'm not, But, I'm not in North Carolina, and I'm not in these people's lives. So I don't know what factors I'm missing or that I'm blind to. But I just felt like, man, these folks don't want to change that name.
Yeah.
And that's
they
kind of
felt very connected to it seemed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But Jarrell Hilton, you did an amazing job. You keep pushing forward. Please do more. Please send us more. I want to see more of your work. You deserve more than honorable mention, but we did have a heavy contender that took our Best Doc Short title, and we'll talk about that next. But let me pause real quick to let everybody know, if you've been a listener to the podcast and you sense there's a difference in quality this month, it's because there is. And I'll do my best in post to fix this, but my office is in the middle of a huge reorganization, and my microphone arms busted on me while I was trying to set up, and nothing's in the right place. So I had to kind of I'm rigging up some Rode Wireless Go's to an F6, and trying to do the best I can in recording like this. So if it sounds a little different, I'm sorry. I'm not using my normally butter smooth microphones. So I'm really just talking to myself in post, because I'll hate listening to this in post, and most people won't care at all. But yeah, there is.
You should. Audio matters.
Yeah, audio does matter. That's right. That's what we try to stress. But there is a little bit of different sound this month, if you catch that. It will be back to normal for July. Well, let's move on and talk about our winner for Doc Short in June. Submitted by director Rodney Roldan, our winner is Remembering Private Quagliano.
Yay!
And another just super impressive documentary. And this one had a bit of a twist that I absolutely loved.
Yeah, we didn't see that coming.
Yeah, and I won't say anything
we're not
about
gonna
it.
spoil it.
But Rodney, I love when we find out things about folks that are being interviewed. That was really, really cool. But Remembering Private Quagliano is a really endearing documentary about Private Anthony J. Quagliano, who was a World War II veteran, and he was captured by the Germans and served as a prisoner of war. He endured so much.
Yeah, and their B-roll was all authentic photos from that time and video footage. I mean, I don't even know how you find that kind of stuff, but I mean, I realize it's out there and probably just easy to get if you know what you're looking for, but it just helped understand the terrible, terrible things that happened to our soldiers back then, when, you know, there was no social media to say, hey, liberate these people. They had to actually get their company, or what do you call it? Their unit had to make a plan about how they were going to attack this base where these people were being held. And I mean, just who does that anymore? We can't even fathom what that is like. And
no, wars are very distant.
Very distant.
They're not personal. And even in current wars, we think of it in terms of we're rolling tanks and airplanes.
Right.
And,
right. This was actual brutality against Americans, which just, it was difficult to see pictures like that of these men. And so it hit me as a I have family members from almost every single branch of the military. And so it was difficult to watch, but I was waiting for the part when he got to come home, and that, so that we will spoil. He was liberated after, I believe, 8 months as a prisoner of war.
And you get to hear from his son.
And his granddaughter.
And his granddaughter. And it's a great heartwarming story.
The story was absolutely what held me. It wasn't the best composition. It wasn't the best shot. It wasn't the best quality. It wasn't the best audio. But all of that didn't...
It had its technical challenges, but the story was so strong
that
sometimes that'll carry you through. And all things considered, I mean, we had some other great doc shorts, but I think this is the one that delivered its story the most compelling, with the most conviction, with the most sincerity, and it followed a storyline. And I think sometimes people make a documentary and they don't think about still trying to make that documentary fit into a 3-act structure or a 4-act structure, or just making sure you're still telling a story. You
have to. It's not just information being thrown at you.
Right. And, having a World War II veteran prisoner of war is much heavier than the other doc shorts that we got. So, he inherently has something that's more compelling. There are more stakes.
More heartstrings.
Yeah. So that, hey, but pick that kind of good stuff, Rodney Roldan did an amazing job with this, and I really appreciate the submission and the chance we got to watch it. Thank you, Rodney. Congratulations on your win. I hope to see more from you as well. So now for something completely different.
Yes.
Let's just turn around. We received a music video this month that, all right, look, here's how it goes down, okay? I'm going to be honest with everybody. I'm not going to BS with anybody.
Okay.
We didn't receive a music video submission. It's completely blank.
And that's cool because, I mean, who does music videos anymore? It's a rare thing.
I'm surprised we've gotten as many as we have.
Right.
But we do have a winner because, as it would so happen, I was hired to edit a music video this month, and this is my film festival.
And we make the rules, we can do what we want.
With no other submissions, I have this. But, I think, look, I'm biased. I made it.
It's really good.
But my part in making it is overall small. This is, our winner is a video called Rich Man's World, and it's performed by a band called Cult of One. They were a band in 1984. And they were in the Santa Barbara area, and they recorded this album, and this song, Rich Man's World, became a big hit in Santa Barbara at the time. It was
their local scene.
It was playing on the radio. They were playing gigs, and a member of the band is a dear friend of mine. He has done a lot of work with me. I've been able to do things with him over the years, and he's a wonderful man with a wonderful family. And he's probably the most talented guitar player I've ever met in my life.
He is so good. I got to sing on stage with him, by the way.
Yeah. There are, I know really good guitar players, and I know like amazing acoustic guitar players. But there's something about Richard Austin holding an electric guitar. I mean, the man can play every single instrument. Go look up Ludwig Jones' Perfect Dirty World video. That's another video I edited for a thing Richard Austin did with his buddy Jimmy Zek. And that's a fun video we did during COVID.
But just the song, every song they write, every song they play together.
He's a brilliant
he's got
artist.
So much groove. He's got so much, there's always something so just tasty, I don't know, about the music that he makes.
Right. Now, Richard didn't write Rich Man's World, but, he plays in it. So Richard did write Perfect Dirty World.
Oh.
So if you go off and look for Ludwig Jones on Spotify or Pandora or whatever, or on YouTube, the video's on YouTube, go check out the video. Comment on the video, say IndieEye sent me, so I know you watched it. But that video's out there, and it's a fun watch, and it's two guys doing the whole job of an entire band. So it's cool. But Rich Man's World is what we're trying to talk about here, our best music video, performed by Cult of One. And you can find that on YouTube. You can find all of their music on Pandora, Spotify, SoundCloud.
They have more songs?
They have a whole album.
Are you serious?
Their album, Luddite, has Rich Man's World on it.
Oh, how fun. I'm going to have to add that on Spotify.
Right. So, and what this video is, and Richard gets directing credit because he compiled scraps of newspaper clippings, flyers they had from the era.
Show flyers.
They had a ton of photos from different gigs.
They had their set lists.
It's set list. Yeah, it was so rich with stuff. I had a blast in the edit. And I added a little bit of other things for the era within the edit. But what you see in the video it's the band in action and all of the media material around them. And then there's even a little clip at the end from a radio DJ signing off, their song while it was playing. I don't know how the heck they managed to hold on to all of this, but it was a gold mine. So it's a fun little song. I think everyone would enjoy it. It's Rich Man's World by Cult of One. And that is our best music video for the month.
Yay! Congratulations, you.
But hey, it's edited by me, so entirely biased. But I did love the song. And I hope you like the edit. And if you go check it out on YouTube, Cult of One, Rich Man's World, also comment, say, IndieEye sent me, or say, Matt's editing sucks. Whatever, like it or,
It's not.
give it some love. So we're talking about music. Let's move on to Best Original Score. Best Original Song, Music, or Score. And this month it happened to be an entire score for a feature film. Caesar the Musical. This was directed by first-time director, but long-time composer, Mike Petrone. And I will admit that when we started this film, we were both like, oh boy.
What is happening here?
This is... And then it catches you. And what they did was they filmed this musical on stage, but without a crowd. It was filmed during COVID, so it's without a crowd. And the set they've created is awesome.
Yep.
The costuming is awesome, and it's close-up camera stuff. So you can't always tell it's on a stage. It's always, giving you some feel like it's in where it's supposed to be. But all of the songs are great. All of the music is fantastic, and it's multiple songs. I mean, it's a musical, and people know what musicals are, Matt. You don't have to explain that to them.
See, the thing is they act in song.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. This isn't new, then.
No.
Okay. He didn't invent a genre.
No, he did not.
He just did a film really well in the genre. But he was in charge of composing this project. And Mike, you absolutely win our Best Original Score category for Caesar the Musical.
Yay!
Congratulations to you. And that had to be so much work, not only in preparing, but the production had to be a ton of work. And then the post-production of getting all the audio right.
Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate that. I recognize all of that effort you and your team put into that. So great work on Caesar the Musical. Next, we had this really sweet, endearing animation short called Predestination, directed by Steven Zimmerman. What did you feel about this one?
I really liked this one. It had a very colorful animation. It was detailed, but flat. Like, I kind of like that the way that the art looked. I wish there was a little bit more story to this particular one, but I understood what was happening. And yeah, it was really good. I felt like the music felt good into the story. Things happened that I expected them to happen, which is, is totally fine. Like, I was like, oh, she better come back and blah, blah, blah. Like, I wanted certain things to happen. Of course they did. It just was a happy ending kind of story. What did you think about it?
Yeah, I agree with all that. I thought what I liked about it was that it was just sweet and simple. If I'm looking at it as an indie film critic, which I am not qualified to be.
Yeah.
What are the qualifications for that? You got to go to school for that? I don't know. But
no, you just have to have an opinion.
there were no real stakes to the story. There was never really a big challenge for the main character to achieve his goal. And, but I don't know how hard animation is, and it's not my area of expertise. So I'm just always impressed when I see people go through the trouble of making it. And I thought, what a fun little short film Steven did. And it stood out to us to be the winner for Best Animation in June of 2021. So, Steven, congratulations to you.
Yay!
And thanks for submitting. Oh, okay, so this next one, this one's really cool. I don't know what to say. But we were given a little short film, a little student short film, directed by Cody Dunn called Chains. Cody made this for a school project, an intro to production class, and they were able to use a Bolex and edit old film on Steenbecks. So this was an experiment for him in making this little film, and it worked out really well. And what a great opportunity for him to have to go through that process and understand what it is. So this is on film, but what stands out is the sound design.
Yep.
And look, I mean, a sound design aside, there are some really interesting things going on in this film. I thought it was shot well. I thought it was edited really well. And for doing that with film, that's a challenge. That's quite an impressive feat. It's not, boy, today we have it easy. Everything's digital and non-linear, and you can do anything you want. In film, you've got to be so precise and really think about what you're doing. And he did a lot of cuts, and there's a specific look to this film. It's black and white, but there's something so sinister isn't quite the word, but there's something unnerving about it all, about the film itself married with the sound design that he created. I thought the sound design was excellent. It always felt like you were in that moment, in the frame. Like the sound was the sound from that frame. He's got, riding a bike, sitting in the woods near
the rustling,
a stream.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everything's accounted for, and that's great attention to detail. And that's very important. And I think Cody is going to college, seeking a career in this field, and I just think the ceiling is super high for him. I think he's got a great start. He seems to really understand the fundamentals of storytelling and the importance of all those little details.
All the aspects.
Yeah, I mean, when you're doing ADR or post-sound design, you've really got to fill those tracks up with what would really be in that room. Room tone.
Yep.
Is there a fan? Is there a refrigerator? Put those frequencies in there. And, are there dogs outside? Is there a lawnmower going on? Like, really think about your environment. And he did an excellent job with Chains and earned our Best Sound Design for June of 2021.
Yay!
And finally, we have our narrative short category. And I'm going to talk about one short that we got because it was so far and above in quality and delivery and story than anything else we got. And it did some damage here. It did. It racked up some laurels.
Yes, it did.
Matthew B. Belts, if you're listening, this next part of the podcast is about you. We received a narrative short called Death March. And I'm just going to read the synopsis here because it's written well and it'll set everything up. This is for Death March. In the midst of the turmoil of World War II, blanketed by the frigid winter of Nazi-occupied France, a young soldier marches a fellow brother in arms to his execution under accusations of being a German spy. However, along the way, the lines between duty and morality begin to blur, calling into question the very nature of what is right and wrong. Folks, that's how you write a synopsis. And I can't say enough about Death March, but we're going to try to.
We are going to say some stuff.
What did you think?
Oh, it was from the thumbnail. It was like, okay, this is going to be beautiful to watch. And it had the right pacing. It had the acting. I mean, it's just two dudes. And it was so good. I am often, when I watch movies, very aware that I'm watching a movie. I'm very aware that people are acting and this is not reality. This doesn't happen very often. This put me there. It made me think that this guy was actually marching to his death. Like, it made me feel that way. It made me, their facial expressions, their pauses, it was excellently delivered. And other than that, the realistic feel of the whole entire short was just aces.
Now, I will say, I was never clear on why we had to walk so far just to shoot a guy. But everything else
he
is
was
so
given orders. You don't know what his orders were.
Does this guy's unit just not like him and they're like, hey, we can get rid of him by just sending him, tell him to go kill that guy. Tell him to walk like 6 miles, kill him,
in the snow,
and walk back. Yeah. So, that's But if that's the critique I have, that's it. Everything else was so gorgeous, and you're right. The cinematography is beautiful. They handled the sound really well.
Yes.
But the standout here are the actors who portray these characters, which is why we've given Best Actor this month to Michael Zakola for his role in Death March, and we've given Best Supporting Actor to George Lavoie. These guys did such a great job. I really believe they were who their characters were.
Yes.
Specifically for Michael Zakola, who had to go through a lot of different stages of being marched to his death. He had a lot of monologues to give, and not lengthy, boring monologues. Everything was interesting. Every interaction between the two was interesting. But it's really all led by Michael Zakola and what the situation his character is in. And I just thought he knocked it out of the park. The costuming was great.
That was the first thing I mentioned. Did I not say that in the very beginning? I said, wow, the costuming, because like one of the first shots is the boots walking through the snow, and they're like straight up World War II boots. Like there's ties all the way up, and they're old looking, and they look like, I mean, the brown jackets, like everything looked great.
I also appreciated towards the end of the film, you see a close-up of the lapels of a jacket for a certain shot. And I was paying close attention to that because I wanted to see some wear. And there was really legitimate wear and grime along the lapels where you would have your hands. And so just, great attention to detail of making that feel authentic. Their location is out in the snow, in the woods in the snow, which is, number one, that's a challenge for a crew, and I don't know how many people were involved in creating it necessarily on the shoot, but you have gear out in the snow, people are cold, and there's complications, and that's a risk. But what a beautiful setting, and it looks like they just had a lot of space to work with. Oh yeah,
it provided so many pretty shots, overhead, close up. I mean, just the backdrop was beautiful.
Never a lazy shot.
No.
There was always a lot of intention and caring about what was in the frame and how to show perspective of where they were. And I love when the camera is used to, when you're showing people out in like the middle of nowhere, showing them very small and the space very big is so, and it sends such a great visual message. And there was that. There were some really nice drone shots that sparingly used, and people aren't whipping drones around and adjusting the camera. This was very well done. And speaking of the cinematography, we gave Devin Bussey, who was the director of photography for Death March, our Best Cinematography Award.
Yay!
Matt Belts, congratulations to you, because you are our Best Director for IndieEye in June of 2021.
It's a good night for Death March.
Death March is just fabulous, and it's well written. Matt Belts did a great job directing. Devin Bussey, an amazing job with cinematography.
Beautiful.
The editing's done very well. The actors, George Lavoie and Michael Zakola, absolutely out of this world. This little short film is a problem for other people in other festivals. So I'd be excited I'm going to try to follow along and see, what kind of laurels they're collecting, because this was superb, and what a treat to watch and enjoy. I actually watched it twice, but what a treat. And thank you, Matt Belts and your team, for putting together such a compelling story. And I guess things that deal with World War II are big with us this month.
Apparently.
Maybe it's just that the 4th of July is coming. And
we're feeling very patriotic and very American.
So great job to everybody who submitted. And, congratulations to all of our winners.
Yeah, congrats.
Thank you all for submitting. If we didn't talk about your submission, it doesn't necessarily mean it was bad. We're trying to not make a 3-hour podcast. So we'll have the podcast up tomorrow and notifying people of their statuses tomorrow. And this is my favorite time because a lot of people get to find out good news.
Yeah.
And that's my favorite part about doing this.
Yeah, you know that feeling. So
Yeah,
it's good to deliver good news to people.
Seeing people be so happy with, our little opinions or
Yeah.
selections, that little bit of encouragement goes a long way for a creator. And I feel that all the time. So thank you all. We're going to get out of here. We're going to get this edited so you can listen to it tomorrow.
Or right now, because that's when you're hearing it.
That's right. Go to Indie Film Review at Indie Film Review Podcast. Look them up. Go to their Patreon. It's going to be in the description box below. And if you want to get your film reviewed by them, donate $5 to their Patreon and rise up in the queue. And let them know Matt from IndieEye sent you. So we're signing off. You have any last words?
Yeah, I was just going to remind people that if you've got new projects or you've got friends with projects, let them know they can submit to our awards, IndieEye Film Awards. And
that reminds me, I'm sorry, I got to cut you off
Please
because I've completely forgot to say
boy.
something. I should have said this in the beginning of the podcast.
Okay, go.
I'll have to mention it again next month, but for July, we are adding a horror category.
Oh, nice. We didn't have that before.
No,
Okay.
and a director reached out and was asking about something, and I told him, wait, because we're gonna have a horror category coming in July.
Cool.
It's only fair because it's tough to compete with a lot of different genres.
Yeah.
And horror is such an indie specific, like there's such a huge collection of horror for indie stuff. So we're gonna have a new category. It could be short, it could be feature for now, and that'll pop up in July. So look for that if you're making a horror film or if you know anybody who's made one.
Yep.
It does.
I'll just continue on that. Just, come over to the website and send them over and...
All right, we're done.
Yep.
Okay, bye guys.
You're gonna have to figure out how to end that.
Well, you just did.
Oh.
If you'd like your project discussed on the podcast, go to IndieEyeFilmAwards.com and submit to our open monthly competition. Find us on Instagram and YouTube, IndieEye Film Awards. Thanks for listening to this episode of IndieEye.